Welcome, wanderer. Before you drift into the dark, like this video, subscribe to the channel and tell me, where are you watching from? And what time is it now? Now, settle in and listen. The mansion rose like a specter against the dying light of day. A Gothic giant of stone and shadow nestled on the edge of a forest that seemed older than time itself. I hesitated at the threshold, keys trembling in my hand. The October wind whispered across the grounds, cold and full of secrets, but I told myself it was just nerves. I was alone. Completely alone. The door groaned open with a reluctant creak, spilling the fading sunlight into the massive entryway. Inside it was dim, almost reverent. Dust particles floated like tiny ghosts in the light. "Hello?" I called. My voice was swallowed by silence, save for the slow tick-tock of an ancient grandfather clock. "Get it together, Sarah," I muttered, just like Mrs. Blackwood said. "No one's here but you." Dragging my suitcase up the wide staircase, the carpet so thick it muffled my steps, I reached the bedroom she'd prepared for me. It was larger than my apartment. A four-poster bed sat like a throne in the center of the room. I unpacked quickly. I didn't want night to fall before I could explore. Room by room, the house unfolded. A library with towering shelves, a music room with a grand piano, its keys yellowed with age, a sunroom choked with strange foreign plants. Each space felt untouched, preserved, like the house was holding its breath. By the time the sun vanished behind the hills, I was back in the kitchen, cooking a simple dinner. Stainless steel appliances clashed with the antique surroundings, like time had buckled under the roof. That night, I barely slept. The house creaked and groaned in unfamiliar ways. Every whisper of sound snapped me awake, my heart hammering in the dark. When morning finally came, it brought no comfort. I worked remotely from the library, surprised the Wi-Fi even worked. By late afternoon, I decided a hot bath might help me relax. The clawfoot tub filled with steam, fragrant with lavender oil. I closed my eyes, let the heat melt the tension. Then, thud! My eyes snapped open. Then, footsteps, slow, purposeful, too careful. I held my breath. It's just the house settling. Another drawer opened, then closed. Someone was inside. I scrambled from the tub, dripping and terrified. My phone? In the bedroom? Landline? Downstairs. I was trapped. Frantically, I grabbed the only thing in reach, a heavy crystal soap dish. I crept to the door. Silence. Then, the sound of something shifting in a nearby bedroom. Quietly, I tiptoed to the stairs, but creak. A floorboard betrayed me. The noise stopped. Then, sudden movement. They were coming. I bolted down the stairs, my bare feet slapping against the wood. Heavy steps followed close behind. The front door, locked. My hands fumbled through a ring of keys as terror clouded my thoughts. A hand grabbed my shoulder. I spun, lashing out with the soap dish. Crack! A grunt of pain. The grip loosened. I didn't look back. I tore through the kitchen, heading for the back door. I slammed into furniture, fumbled for the handle. It opened. I burst into the cold night, heart pounding, socks soaked with dew. I ran across the lawn into the dark forest beyond, branches tearing at my skin, fear propelling me forward. "Stop!" A voice boomed behind me. I didn't stop. I didn't even turn. I don't know how long I ran. Minutes? Hours? Until, breathless and broken, I saw lights through the trees, a house. Relief surged, then died. It was the mansion. I had run in a circle. I stood, paralyzed, unsure what was real anymore. Then a police car parked in the driveway. The front door opened. A man in uniform stepped out, and behind him, Mrs. Blackwood. "Sarah," she cried, rushing to me, "are you hurt? What happened?" I tried to explain, panting, "There's someone in the house. He chased me." Mrs. Blackwood looked confused. The officer shifted uncomfortably. "Sarah," she said gently, "that wasn't an intruder. That was my husband." From the doorway stepped a tall man with graying hair and a bruised cheek. "I'm so sorry," he said, his voice calm, the same voice that had shouted in the woods. "I didn't mean to scare you. I came home early, was looking for my glasses. I should have called." The blood drained from my face. I'd attacked him, fled into the forest in sheer terror. Over a misunderstanding? "It's okay," Mrs. Blackwood said, guiding me inside. "You've had a shock. Come, let's get you warm." Back inside, the house seemed less monstrous, warmer. But as I lay in bed that night, I couldn't shake the thought. What if it hadn't been Harold? What if it still wasn't? The fluorescent lights hummed above, casting an eerie glow on the empty hallway. My footsteps echoed on the polished tiles, too loud for comfort in the oppressive silence. I never admitted it to anyone, but these late-night rounds always made my skin crawl. The mannequins in the store windows seemed to follow my every move, their blank faces haunting in the stillness. I was on the second floor, passing the large fountain in the atrium, when I heard it, a faint scraping sound, metal against metal. I froze, listening intently. There it was again. "Hello?" My voice rang too loudly in the quiet space. No answer. I fumbled for my flashlight, its beam cutting through the darkened storefronts. Nothing seemed out of place. "Must be the old pipes," I muttered, trying to shake the unease that slithered up my spine. But I couldn't shake it. Every shadow seemed deeper now, every noise amplified in the silence. By the time I reached the security office, I was on edge, my nerves frayed. I sank into my chair, scanning the monitors. Everything appeared normal, but something wasn't right. Then I saw it, a shadow moving swiftly across one of the screens. My heart skipped a beat. I leaned in, but the figure was gone before I could process it. I rewound the footage. There, in the corner of the screen, a figure darted past too fast to make out. My mouth went dry. Someone was in the mall. I grabbed my radio, fingers trembling, but I hesitated. What if I was overreacting? I didn't want to be the guard who cried wolf. I decided to investigate first. Armed with only a flashlight and a heavy wrench I kept for emergencies, I ventured back into the mall. The long corridors felt colder, darker, more menacing. Every storefront could be hiding an intruder. Every shadow, a threat. As I turned a corner near the electronics store, I heard it again. The scraping noise. This time, it was louder. I crept toward the store, flashlight trembling in my grip. The security gate was intact, but not fully closed. There was a gap at the bottom just wide enough for someone to slip through. I hesitated, my heart pounding. I could go back, call the cops, but curiosity and duty pushed me forward. I crouched down, sliding under the gate. The darkness inside the store was suffocating, the displays of TVs and computers looming like silent sentinels. "Security!" I called, on edge. I was almost at the stairs when a hand grabbed my shoulder. I spun around, wrench raised, and swung blindly. My strike connected with something solid, and I heard a grunt of pain. Without waiting to see who I'd hit, I bolted, charging up the stairs. My legs burned, my heart pounding as I burst back into the main mall. Behind me, I heard shouts. They were all after me now. I rounded the corner and saw it, the exit. But the door wouldn't budge. It was locked. I slammed into it, panic setting in. I had locked it myself at the start of the shift. Hands shaking, I fumbled for my keys. The footsteps behind me grew louder, closer. My breath hitched, but I finally got the key in the lock and turned it. The door opened just as they rounded the corner. I ran, not stopping, until I reached the 24-hour diner across the street, gasping for air. Jake, V.O. We were looking for a thrill, something to capture in photos, something to remember. But when the walls have stories to tell, not all of them want to be remembered. We didn't know it then, but the factory's secrets had a price. Scene 2. Split up and the first encounter. The group splits up. Jake moves deeper into the factory. As Jake navigates the maze of abandoned machinery, his flashlight flickers. There's a sudden noise, a heavy shuffle that seems too deliberate to be an animal. His heart races, but he presses on. Then he sees something. shadows moving past a doorway. Jake, V.O. Curiosity got the better of me. It always does in places like this. I should have turned around right then, but I followed those shadows. Jake's flashlight catches 3 men gathering crates in the main floor. They exchange packages in a quiet, calculated manner. It's a drug deal. Jake's breath catches in his throat. Jake, V.O. This wasn't just an abandoned factory. It was a trap, a nest, and I had walked right into it. Scene 3. Escape and the chase. Jake tries to warn his friends but is pursued by the men. He turns and runs, but the factory seems to shift around him. Narrow corridors, labyrinthine hallways, the shadows closing in behind him. As he crashes into Tom, panic takes over. Tom, "What the hell, Jake?" Jake, "No time. We need to go." Now, they race to find Sarah, but before they can regroup, they hear Lizzie scream, "Jake, V.O." In the blink of an eye, everything changed. The factory, once a place of forgotten machines, became a nightmare, and we were the prey. Scene 4, the confrontation. They reach Lizzie, who is backed into a corner by one of the men. A struggle ensues. Jake grabs a piece of rusted metal and swings, knocking one of the men to the ground. He yells at Lizzie to run, but the other 2 men are closing in. With nowhere to go, they scramble for the conveyor belt, desperate to escape. Jake, V.O. We were trapped. The exit was blocked. The only path up was a conveyor. Jake, V.O. We made it. We got out. But even now, sometimes I catch a glimpse of a shadow or hear a truck rumbling in the distance, and I wonder if we ever really escaped. The aftermath. The group debates whether to go to the police. Fear of retaliation wins out. They decide to stay silent, but Jake's narration shows how the experience haunts them, bonding them in a shared nightmare. The camera lingers on Jake's face as he looks out the window at the decaying Millbrook factory, knowing it holds dark secrets. Jake, V.O. We never went back to the factory. We never explored again. But every now and then, when I see an abandoned building, I wonder, what's still hiding inside? As I sit here, typing away in the dim light of my apartment, I can still hear the echoes of that night, the sound of footsteps chasing me down those decaying hallways, the cold, empty stare of the spirits that haunt Ravenswood. My hands tremble slightly as I reach for my cup of tea, the warmth a reminder of the safety I have now. But I know better. I know that safety is an illusion, a fleeting sense of comfort that can shatter at any moment. The stories I used to write, the tales of abandoned places, and the occasional ghostly encounter seem almost laughable to me now. Back then, I had thought I understood the fear of the unknown. I had thought that the most terrifying thing in the world was finding a ghostly figure at the end of a dark corridor. But I was wrong. The true terror is not the things you can see, but the things you can't. It's been months since that night at Ravenswood, and I still can't shake the feeling that something, somewhere, knows I escaped. That night, when I fled, I could feel eyes on me, watching me as I ran. In the rearview mirror, I saw that figure standing in the window, staring into the darkness as if waiting for me to return. It's a sight that haunts me more than the memory of the black-eyed patients or the twisted smiles of the doctors. I used to think I was just a curious explorer, someone in search of a story. But now I know I was never meant to leave. Ravenswood has claimed others before, and it will claim more. I've heard the stories. People who went in and never came back, but they never say why. They never tell you about the cold hands that reach out from the dark, or the whispers that follow you long after you've escaped. And as I look at my reflection in the window, I wonder if I've truly escaped. Every shadow, every flicker of movement in my peripheral vision fills me with dread. Sometimes I hear whispers in the dead of night, soft voices calling my name, just loud enough to make me question whether I'm still alone. But the worst part, I know the truth. Ravenswood isn't gone. It's still there, lurking in the corner of my mind, waiting for me to return. It won't let me forget. Not now. Not ever. So if you're reading this and wondering if Ravenswood still stands, if it's still as haunted and cursed as the stories say, it is. It always will be. And if you ever find yourself near it, don't make the mistake I did. Don't go in, because once you do, you may never leave. Ravenswood is still waiting, and it's always hungry for more.